This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Do you ever feel like you're juggling a million things, constantly reacting to life's demands, and struggling to find peace? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get lost in thoughts, emotions, and external pressures, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected. But what if there were a simpler way to navigate the chaos? What if you could access calm and clarity, not by adding more to your to-do list, but by reconnecting with the wisdom within? The key is to shift from resisting life to embracing it. This means listening to your body's wisdom, honoring your emotions, acknowledging your thoughts, and releasing the limiting beliefs of the ego. And surprisingly, this path can be easier than the struggle of resistance. Valeria interviews Manal L. Remley. She is the author of Transcending Anxiety, From Fear to Freedom, Transforming Unacknowledged Fears into a Life of Freedom and Happiness. Manal L. Remley empowers self-discovery, inner peace, and alignment. With the mind of an engineer and the heart of a spiritual guide, Manal L. Remley created the Maintain Method and founded Maintain LLC, a self-growth company dedicated to helping individuals evolve beyond life's struggles and discover their inner truth. Manal's work is featured on Insight Timer, in Om Yoga and Lifestyle magazine, and she is also a TEDx speaker. Her book, Transcending Anxiety, is now available. Manal is actively building her social media platform, engaging with potential readers, and she is a member of the Hay House Writers community. Meet Manal at maintain.me. Here's the interview with Manal L. Remley.
Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Manal L. Remley. She is a meditation and mindfulness coach, creator of the Maintain Method, and founded the Maintain LLC. She is an Insight Timer teacher and TEDx speaker. Manal empowers self-discovery, inner peace, and alignment. And she's also the author of 3 books. I just found out the other 2. The one that I have here is titled Transcending Anxiety, From Fear to Freedom, Transforming Unacknowledged Fears into a Life of Freedom and Happiness. I do have the other titles here too. I have questions for you. So this is my brief introduction to Manal, but the question that I ask everyone from the get-go, although we have been talking off record already about a lot of things, how would you introduce yourself in this very moment? Who are you, Manal?
Ooh, Valerie, this is so interesting because I was just at my son's, he's a junior school, and I was interviewing the young men. There was young men, it could have been young women, but I got 2 young men to help them prepare for interviews, college interviews or future interviews. And I said, you know what? One of the most questions that I don't like is, tell me about yourself. And I said, but it's so important because it tells you so much about the person, how they choose. So you're giving me an open-ended question that's going to illustrate. Okay. Oh, she's putting me to work. Valerie. Okay. I am. That's ultimately where I want to get to is I am. So I am a seeker. I am a teacher. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a friend. I am a partner. I am a daughter. Did I say I'm a daughter? Yes, I am so many things, but ultimately what I strive to get. So I've been a seeker my whole life, and I'm curious about why. Why are we here? Why are you there? Why am I here? Why do we look the same but different? And why do we have very different experiences? And what is the commonality in our experiences that make us that put us here? Why are we human? What's the humanity is about, and why? So I am all of these things that are ultimately, and so that's what led me to being, okay, now my resume, a TEDx speaker, a founder of Matain, which means, Manal means attainment in Arabic and Egyptian. My parents are Egyptian. So I put an M in front of it, attain, so Matain, so the founder of Matain, which is helping people attain the life that they desire. And ultimately, I believe we're all looking for three things, which is the truth of our worthiness, our love, and our freedom. And we'll come back to that. I am a meditation teacher on Insight Timer and do regular lives and love collaborating with the other teachers. And I'm a mother. I love being a mom of three amazing children and a friend, like I said, and all these different things. So did I answer your question, Valerie? Did I give the listeners a taste of who they're exploring with today?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Beautifully. I love how you started answering the question with I am, and there was a pause there. So there's no need to almost for description or more. I am this, and this is it. And then it could be anything else, right? The expression of this. So yes, that's what I have uncovered to be true in a very painful way. So you still use the word seeker. Are you still seeking something? What are you seeking when you use that term as a seeker?
Valerie, I don't think I'm curious if I'll ever stop using that term. Because I truly believe, and we were talking with this off camera, that we don't ultimately recalibrate, return to the infinite essence that we are until we die. And so I believe that we're here as humans to grow and expand. And this is through learning and seeker. So seeker is the noun of learning, growing, expanding. So yes, I am a seeker, and I believe I've been a seeker since the moment I popped out of my mother's womb. I believe so. As far as I can remember, I remember questioning why, why, out of curiosity, maybe at sometimes it would be tinged with anger, sometimes with frustration, sometimes with victimhood. And more lately, I've returned to this curiosity, like, why are we here? And so, yes, I do believe that I'm a seeker, and I invite all of the listeners to sort of embody, and you don't have to call it seeker. Seeker sort of has this taste of like being a spiritual guide or whatever it might be, or has that sort of essence of it. But a curious, I'm a learner, I'm a whatever it might be, I'm a creator, whatever it might be that's representative of a journey of continued growth and expansion and learning and love and calibrating. I know this is going to be any of the engineers and mathematicians, I know they're going to say, how is this possible? But calibrating back to the infinite nature of who we are.
Wow. What's not to love about that? All that. Yes, calibrating. That's interesting. That's the title of the episode too. So calibrating to wholeness, healing and transformation. Yes, right. So that involves, of course, healing. In order to embody that wholeness, right? Healing needs to take place. What is the feeling associated with that, Manal, when, in this process of growing, evolving?
Okay, Valerie, there's some words that I use, but in my Matain teachings, in my framework, my methodology, I like to reframe. And healing is one of them, because I would be healing until the day I die, because there's always an aspect that feels not complete or not whole. Maybe if we go back to the fact that I believe that we're infinite beings, and in our physicality, there's a limitation for us to be, because we're human, to be able to be calibrated to that infinite nature the whole time. So I like to reframe, and I just love the natural release of energy that my students or followers or whoever it might be, the label that we'll give my clients, when I say, we are whole.
Yes.
We are whole. And yes, our past may have within us imprints, physical, emotional, mental. These are labels that are given to trauma or PTSD or suffering and struggle. Yes, there are imprints in our body, but when we stop framing them as pain, suffer, or struggling, and we start to recognize, oh, this is just the human journey. This is just a journey that's meant for us to learn and expand and to grow. This is just a experience of humaning for me to start to recognize that I don't need to calibrate to external and calibrate to the internal nature of my worthiness, my love, my freedom. So the taste of wholeness is that we've arrived. The taste of wholeness is, now I'm going to contradict myself in that way, we no longer have to seek. See, I'm learning and growing all the time, but we just allow and we can be. So maybe that's an answer that I'll expand onto your previous question, is like, no, maybe actually, Manal, there's one point that you keep seeking and it's actually within. And look, I've got goosebumps because I just can't, I want to cry. I just feel like I grew in this moment. Oh my God, goosebumps all over. So yes, it's about allowing, embodying, and being the truth of who we are. That's what healing reframed to wholeness. So I invite everybody that's listening, that's on our healing journey, to see if we want to reframe it from healing to wholeness.
Right.
And see what the beautiful tastes and the essence of that shift feels to you.
Yes, a billion times. I mean, I love that metaphor. And it's funny because I never heard anybody using it. I use it all the time about the same reason. But you're the first one who really bringing this out with a lot of conviction. Like, I know this is true, the taste of life. Yes, because wholeness means, to me, freedom. So in freedom, everything is possible. So it's the experience of freedom would be this. So everything being exactly as it is. The thoughts coming, the emotions. And I love that. So we're just being open enough to kind of taste everything that comes up, that shows up in our reality. Then that would be a taste of the infinite, then, of freedom. Now we know we are free already. And then we are, that's why this platform is titled The Freedom to Feel, for a reason. After all these years, I just came to that, let's say, orientation, not conclusion, but orientation. Wait a minute, this is it. So thank you for your clarity. And I know that minds are very different because it's beautiful too, the diversity. That's part of freedom too, to think differently, to be differently. But there's something about conditioned thinking that tends to be very predictable. And that's why I love when I meet people that they come from there's that taste again of the unconditioned. It's almost like a taste of the infinite, of the silence. I don't know. I'm so devoted to it. It's it kind of, it does something here. But you mentioned earlier about the body being conditioned. So we are limited, right? It's almost like it feels paradoxical, but it's not, right, Manal? That if everything's happening in God, everything is divine, everything's happening within that wholeness, and then this is just parts of it, then of course only the sense of wholeness would be perfection, would be unconditioned. but the rest of it is just limited and conditioned. And why not accept that too as truth? Because it very much feels like it in this plane.
There's a lot that you're saying in there, but yes, if we can get to a point of, okay, let me speak to the four bodies. Okay. In my framework, I see that we have a physical body.
Yeah.
And that's where we have the physical sensations. Our emotional body, this is where our primary feelings are sadness and joy and happiness and frustration and anger. Our mental body, where our thoughts form. And then in our egoic body. And this egoic body is sometimes called the spiritual body. I like calling it the egoic body because this is where I believe that resistance actually is, and that we want to get from a resistant to non-resistant. Right. It could be conditioned to non-conditioned. Mm-hmm. So we have our four bodies. And if we can get to a place of acceptance of our physical, which might have physical sensations that we label as pain, but if we recognize that it just is. Right. I'll give an example. My son sprained his ankle and he was wearing a big boot and he was not very happy. And then we had a conversation of recognizing that perhaps, I'm going to use the word spirit, God, universe, whatever it might be, the mystery, because I don't like to close off what the listeners might be labeling the mystery, but whatever it might be, that he was best to rest for a week, to not drive for a week, to come home and not to go to the gym for a week. And that is what served him. So once he got to a state of acceptance of his limited physical mobility, there was a sense of peace that came to him. So in the physical body, if we can find acceptance, I believe in the emotional body, we want to it's called ACTS. I have it, the acronym is ACTS, is compassion, which is like an active form of love and just having compassion for ourselves, for our journey, for the mystery, for others, but ultimately compassion. And the mental body, we want to get to trust. Many of us know, but it's this knowing that traps us in our ego. Right. And ultimately, if we trust what the egoic body knows. So the egoic knows that we are worthy. The egoic body knows that we are loved. The egoic body knows that we are free. The egoic body comes to I am. So in the mental body, we trust. And if we can overcome the conditioned mind of knowing and get into an unconditioned state of, again, allowing, trusting. So ultimately acceptance of the physical, compassion in the emotional, trust in the mental, and surrender. I didn't say what it was in the egoic, it's acts, and surrender in the egoic body. Oh, the taste of our conditioned life ends up feeling unconditioned, infinite, abundant, free, peaceful, beautiful, divine. I can keep going and going.
Wow. I never thought it that way. That's so fantastic the way you phrasing it, just it's so different in that sense, especially when you're not calling the up above here the spiritual. That's what all of us wanted to call it. Yes. But we have been right with the crown chakra and all that, and even the skies above God and all that. So, but you call it the egoic as a conduit, as it's almost like that body that is that's representing. It's where the everything will come, the expression of the mental, the emotional, and the physical body will come from that egoic. And then we have this, I was watching your TEDx talk, and then when you mentioned about, we have this, you said something about being the negative kind of tone that we usually use associated with the ego. And you said, well, we all have one. We all have one. And a lot of people, they judge, especially in the spiritual realm. So that's very actually dangerous because there's a lot of almost like rules. If you're spiritual, you behave this way, you wear these clothes, you speak in a certain way. And then now we have a whole mess with all the judgments, which is not love. And then we're just passing that on. But I love that. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the egoic. Like, what is and you call that the body. So I call it the false self, and usually the false self has a purpose here. Of course, we wouldn't be here without the egoic body. But isn't that the one that always creates the sense of dissatisfaction? That's it perhaps is connected with the resistance, as you say, beautifully too and clearly. But for me, it comes up as dissatisfaction. It's never happy. It's always feeling incomplete and trying to, get things to work, fix things. And it's never in acceptance of what is exactly as it is. In the sense that you talk about the body having that sense of acceptance for what's happening, that's what I kind of think when I think about the egoic body. Like, okay, if it can accept, then everything will be wonderful. Everything else will just falls into place, which means stay where it is. But
okay, Valerie, so much there. Okay, first of all, I'm going to speak to what you said in the beginning, that I have a different way of framing things. When you asked me to introduce myself, I said everything, except I forgot to mention engineer. Because I say I'm an engineer's mind meets spiritual guide is one of the ways that I frame myself. Right. And part of my seeking was trying to understand, how do we get to the lowest common denominator? How do we get to the root of everything? So how do I get to the root of your human experience, my human experience, my children's human experience, and a baby's human experience? How do I understand it from a formulaic type of way? So that's what, so asking, coming back to then the ego. And so, yes, there's a few reasons I called it the egoic body versus the spiritual body. First of all, we all have an ego, and we spend so much time putting the ego down. Yes. Just like we put down our bodies, just like we put down our minds, just like we put down emotions and we repress. I call that pains. It's so funny, I'm coming out with all of my acronyms today. But pains, what we do to our missions, we project them, we amplify them, we intellectualize them, we negate them, or we suppress them. So that's what I have in my book, how I talk about what we do. So ultimately, the egoic body, we all talk about the ego like it's bad, bad, bad. And I'm like, how can something that we all have be bad? So then I realized, it's not the ego that's bad. It's the resistant ego that's bad. Just like a heart isn't bad, but a broken heart will be hurtful. It's not like a mind that will be that's bad, but a disturbed mind will be. So if we realize that the ego has a purpose, and the ego is, I'm shining in a different way than you are, Valerie. We have two different personality, auras, air, and that's what our ego is. It's representing. And I believe that in our ego, this is where we're holding our identity and our beliefs, and we ultimately want to get to a state of I am. So a lot of other scriptures or other modulities call it the spiritual body, but the essence of the spirit is limitless. Right. It's infinite. So I'm like, how can we have a body and hold resistance? So to me, calling it the egoic body and recognizing we want to go from a resistant to non-resistant had now a formalic, I don't know if I'm saying that way for us to start to say, there's resistance in my ego. Right. I'm not feeling like I'm good enough. I'm not feeling satisfied. I'm not feeling lovable. I'm not feeling that free. I feel controlled because it's an unconditional three. I keep talking about the worthiness, the love, and the freedom. And I ultimately feel that we're here to recalibrate to the infinite inherent nature of our worthiness, love, and freedom. We are worthy by just being. We are love. We don't need to be loved. Look for love, search for love, find love. We are love. And this idea of control is a delusion. There is no control. There is no control. And if we can move to a place of allowing and recognizing that the biggest fear that we have is that we can't control life and death. And then we move ultimately now, instead of acceptance, because the connection to the egoic body is to the mystery, It is to the divine. It is to the spiritual. So then we go to a place of surrender. Surrender to the mystery, surrender to life and death, surrender to the flow of life, surrender to the beauty, surrender to life.
Yes. It feels like a song to me. And it really does, though. I say this when I meet people like you here. Kind of honoring that we are life itself. We are not apart from life. I don't have a life. I am life. That's basically what you're saying. So there's no really control anywhere. It's so true. Yeah, beautiful. Wow. How did you get to this? I don't say this level of consciousness, but how did you realize that? At what point? Was through experiences or perhaps a gift, grace? Some people call it. It doesn't take suffering.
That's actually a hard question for me. And there are a series of revelations, and I speak to them in my book. Like there's 3 specific revelations that help me. So like I said, from day one, I've been asking why. And curious to my life experience versus, when we were younger, they would show, thank you. Yes, my book, Transcending Anxiety from Fear to Freedom. Yes. When I was growing up, they would show us children starving in Africa. And then also at that time, there would be images of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, and do you remember? And I'd be like, why? Why am I this tanned, Middle Eastern, curly, chubby girl that's having trouble fitting in versus on the other side of the world, these young children that they show that are starving in Africa. Meanwhile, there's these like beautiful, vibrant, appearing to be have it all women in California. Like what? Like why are we here? Why are we here? And then I started to see that that things were perception and that there was illusions and delusions. So the perception might be that somebody in the third world country, and I'm putting in quotes, is unhappy. And then I went to Costa Rica in high school and realized, oh, they're happier than we are in Canada and America. Like, what are we talking about poor these people? There's a exuberance and a excitement and a zeal and a satisfaction for life that I saw in the airport and on the streets that I don't even see in a week in my own. So then I started to recognize, oh, there's a delusion. And then you start to see, some of these celebrities. I don't want to pick on poor Paris or Nicole. I just sort of brought them in as an example. They're beautiful, wonderful, vibrant beings.
Yeah.
Then I start to see that, what is seen on the external is not a representation of what's going on inside.
Right.
And so, and also religion, my parents are very spiritual and religious, and they're also very moral. And so I started to see the difference between religion and being religious and morality. And again, I was raised, and my parents had us in a little cocoon, and they could say, this is the way that we do things, and this is how it is culturally. And then I go back home with them and I realize, whoa, this is crazy. This is inconsistent with what my parents were saying. So I realized that there's a difference between morality and religion and spirituality. So along my journey with all of my why, I started to come to the lowest common denominator. Maybe 10 years ago, I attended a conference that a friend invited me to. It's more of a workshop. And I was able to observe the coordinator working with everybody and seeing that we actually have imprints of our emotions and our stories in our body. Mm-hmm. So this was one of the first times that I became aware of energy. Right. And from there, I pursued Reiki and yoga and the sutras and started to lean more into understanding more about the vibrational nature of the human. So I started to understand, okay, there's an emotional body. So Manal's engineer mind wanted to call it an emotional body. And then I realized we have the mental, we have the physical, and the imprints of our stories are held in our body. And I'm like, but it's not bad. My mom's not bad. Life isn't bad. It's that we were conditioned. and our conditioners. So if I want to blame my mom, which I blame my mom and dad for so much for so long, I realized, wait a second, Manal, they're a product of their parents. And I am so fortunate because my parents gave me so much more than their parents did. Right. But I'm like, but they still raised them and brought them to a place to be able to do that. So I said, well, wait a second, how can I blame my parents if they were a product of their conditioning? And I'm like, well, how do I blame my grandparents if they're a product of their conditioning? Right. And so I realized, oh, wait a second, there is no blame. The blame makes us a victim. It makes us external. And if we really go back into the internal and recognize that there's a greater purpose for every unfolding, and we recognize that we can calibrate to our internal, and that's where the ego came in. I'm answering your question so long, and I'm recognizing that I'm talking so much, and I want to turn the mic back to you, but I want to honor your question fully. So it really was a progressive state. COVID and my divorce were big moments that helped me stop looking on the outside and start going on the inside. A lot of meditation, a lot of time of just searching. And then I looked at all religions. I read all of the different modalities, the Reikis, the yogas, read all of these business books and fiction and nonfiction. And I started to see that fiction is the same as nonfiction. They're just telling us the story in different ways. And business books are the same as spiritual books, but they're just telling us the message in different ways. So I just kept distilling it down further and further and further to where I am today. Did I answer your question?
You did. Yeah. And it's certainly beyond even your beautiful expression, physical, your words. It's there's this energy about you that's so, I mean, we can call it authentic, and I think it's just, it's that surrender, I think. Yeah, I feel like you just have surrendered yourself to life as life. So it feels very freeing, your presence. So thank you again.
Can I tell you that I feel the same way about you? And I feel that your voice is, I read energy, like, and I can hear things in voices, and I see it in bodies, and your voice is so beautiful, and it's so grounded, and it's so connected to knowing. So I'm really enjoying when the mic goes from you to me, and I get to just listen to the sing-song of your voice.
Yeah, it's the same song, isn't it? I don't think it's different. It's the song of life, right? Manal, I have to ask you about this intuition. So I know you talked about the mental, right? The mental body. And so what is intuition within all that? I think I didn't see that word here, or I didn't hear from you yet, but I would love to.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the 4 bodies, physical, emotional, mental, and egoic. Ultimately, I believe that the emotional body is the command center. So ultimately, when we allow our heart, and our heart aligns with our desires and our dreams and our happiness and our love to direct our mind, this is where intuition is. So what we want to do is have our bodies playing together, all of them. And when they're in alignment, then we're flowing from a place of serendipity and surprise and flowing with the universe. So when we allow our heart to guide and to be the leader, boom, intuition, gut instinct, allowing, serendipity, and all of these beautiful things are happening. And we are conditioned in this beautiful world that we live in to be goal-oriented, to focus with our mental body, to think, to be mindy, logic, intellect. Even I find myself, like I said, I'm an engineer's guide, engineer mind, meet spiritual guide. And so if we could just let go, I'll use the word again, surrender, and go to trust in our mind, and allow our knowing to come from our egoic body, and our to be led by our heart, which is following your heart, following your desires, listening. If something doesn't feel right, that gut instinct, listening to it. If when you're walking out the door, it says, go back in and go get your umbrella, go back and get your umbrella. You heard it here. If it says, go back and grab a granola bar, go back and grab X, Y, or Z, listen to that. And the more you can start to muscle, I talk about muscling. I always say, if I went to the gym today and said, I'm going to do 10 bicep curls and expect that I have beautiful biceps, No, we all know it's going to say 6 to 12 to whatever, 24 weeks for us to develop the muscle that we're going to choose to focus on.
Right.
So if you start to choose starting now, to strengthen your intuition and started listening when there's this little voice that's telling you something, that little voice will start to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Right. Yes. Beautifully clarified and answered that question about intuition. Yes. Very much connected to the heart. Yes. That's something that I didn't know. And then by direct experience, I just feel over and over again. Every time I come from the heart, from love, then it's almost, you can't go wrong. But then also I realized that life doesn't make mistakes, and we are life. So there's nothing really to regret, nothing to judge. So when it comes to that, I would love to hear a little bit more from your perspective. So my realization is that life doesn't make mistakes. So whatever happens, it's just, it was meant to happen. Life wanted it to happen because we have no control anyway. Even when we don't follow intuition and then we get in trouble, that was just part of the design too, per se. So that's my view. But how do you see that?
Yes. You showed the cover of my book earlier, and one of the quotes that I repeat very frequently to help us embrace acceptance is, "It just is."
Right.
It just is. And we just talked about my son's ankle. It just is. And if we recognize that, coming back to this notion, we're here to grow and expand. Yeah. And if everything is peachy keen, everything is wonderful, then the desire to learn and go inside is muted. So if I go out and it's sunny and the intuition said, go grab an umbrella, and I come back out and it's still sunny, I'm like, okay, that really didn't help me. But if you start to recognize that, oh, I changed lanes and then all of a sudden something fell out of the car in front of me. Wow, listening to that. So there's all of these different opportunities for us to reinforce the muscle of knowing, of intuition, of accepting the unfolding of life, of recognizing it's okay. This is one way that I like to say it, and it usually gets this big aha moment. We're expecting life to be linear. We're expecting that our simple minds, and I know we have the most amazing minds. I am not calling our minds simple. I adore our minds. I love our intellect. I love being academic and nerdy. But our minds, they're so small, eensy beensy, teeny weeny when you look at the expansive nature of the divine. And so we're trying to understand why something's happening in Africa, why there may have been a crash, why something happened to me from the perception of the eensy beensy teeny weeny. And so if we can surrender to recognize that there is a infinite, divine, higher meaning.
Yes.
And recognize that if I can't understand, putting it in quotes, it's part of my evolution, my growth. And I just got to trust, almost like if I see us as children and we have to trust our, again, I keep picking on my poor son and he's not here to defend himself, but it's like he got out of his boot and I'm like, no, you can't drive until next week. Give yourself a few days to strengthen your, but mom, what? But mom, trust the wisdom of the grays.
The grays. Yeah.
You know, you trust. I hope there's not poking out. But it's almost like if we can recognize that the divine is our elder, the divine is our wise, the divine is our knowing. And so if we can recognize that, okay, maybe I don't understand, but there is a deeper, higher meaning, then I can start to recognize that every unfolding has a meaning. And the more I can calibrate to the acceptance, the compassion, the trust, and the surrender to unfolding of life, then you're going to embody this youthful curiosity, joy, giddiness, happiness, flow, ease, abundance, happiness, appreciation, satisfaction, all the things that peace, all the things that we are looking for. If we realize, oh, I'm not in control. Wait a second. This isn't personal. This isn't about me. This is part of the human experience that I get to experience. And if you don't think we get to, go to a hospital and look at how people feel about somebody that is during their period of transition. No matter what type of life they led, there is pain because happiness, if you know that they're going off to the divine, but they're not going to be part of this beautiful, amazing human experience. We get to. And if you're struggling, it's okay. It's part of the human experience. If you have to shift compassion towards your struggle, you immediately shifted that struggle and that pain.
Yes, a billion times to that truth. Wow, how beautiful. How beautifully said. So life loves life, right? That's why at the very end, we don't want to let go of this. No. We get to be part of it, right? Of this, this beautiful experience. I agree. So I know that most of the... not just the religious and spiritual practices, messages, and all that out there. It's all about, and also the coaches, psychology, all that. It's about lessening or ending suffering. So, but it's not really about, and we know the difference now between suffering and pain. So pain is something that's natural, that's part of this experience. But then suffering would be what you call resistance, isn't it? Now, so would you say that that's the key, really, because you emphasize that a lot about resisting life, what is? So would that be the key to unlock the wholeness, that taste of wholeness, the resistance part?
Yes. Okay. So I have my 5-step framework. Okay. Step 1 is awareness. And it's awareness of your 4 bodies and awareness of the resistance. So when do we want to be aware? When we're in pain. So aware of the physical pain, aware of the emotional, aware of the mental, aware of the egoic. And then ultimately, step 2 is acknowledgement. When you recognize that pain is here because it's an illustration of what is desired, so that pain is undesired, one side of the coin. So the other side of the coin is, well, then what is desired? So I was cut off on the street and the person was really rude and I got angry. So what was undesired? The rudeness. What was desired? To be respected, to be worthy. I was in a relationship and they broke up with me and it hurt my heart and I'm sad. What's undesired? Sadness. What's desired? Love. I was in trouble by my mother and was told, oh, XYZ, and I felt controlled. What's undesired? Control. What's desired? Freedom. So step 2 is recognition that every resistant feeling we have is leading us to one of the unconditional 3, the inherent state of our worthiness, love, and freedom. And so now we realize, oh, that wasn't something bad. This was something that was teaching me that I thought I wanted money. I thought I wanted success. I thought I wanted a new car. I thought I wanted a relationship. I thought I wanted my health. But actually, no, I wanted my freedom. I wanted to be loved, which is me love. I wanted to feel good enough and to feel successful. Ooh, I'm looking for my worthiness. So we start to take that external and go internal. So resistance is the tool to take the external pain and to realize that we're calibrating internally. So step 3 then becomes the things that we've been talking about the whole time, Valerie, about realizing, oh my God, we're so lucky to be human. This is just vibrational. This is just energy. This is us learning and growing how it is to be human. Oh my goodness, we're so lucky. Isn't it so beautiful? Your energy is beautiful. And so you start to go into the state of step 3, which is appreciation. And it's not intellectual. You need to feel it. Feel the sense of like, oh, silly me. I took my partner seriously, and that wasn't personal. It was their conditioning coming up. Oh, silly me, I snapped at my child and he took it personally and I took it personally, but we were just both tired and frustrated, and I need to own up, and it wasn't personal on my end, it wasn't personal on his head. So step 3 is this. It's the easiest and hardest. The hardest is awareness, because it's hard for us to become aware. But step 3 is easy, but it has to be embodied. And then step 4 is allowing. So then we allow the anger. We allow the expression of the resistance, recognizing it's leading to me. So just allow it. I used to call it letting go, but I realized that allowing is more of a passive, and we don't have to feel like we need to do anything, and we just be. And then ultimately step 5 is the mastery of step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's surrender. So it's 5 steps to surrender. So resistance is the gift to get us to surrender. Resistance is the gift of moving us from outside to inside. Because resistance is the gift that takes us from identification of pain and suffering to the infinite nature of I am.
Yes, that's wonderful, though. I mean, it's so clear to me, the steps, everything.
Yes.
It's so clear and necessary. It's almost like, and it's not linear, right, Manal? The process, it's 5 steps, but it doesn't have to be, or does it have to be in a sense? It has to start with awareness, right? I guess, as you said, that's the first one anyway. But
you have to start with awareness. I can't see not starting with awareness, although we might be talking. You have to start with awareness, but it's a dance. It's a dance. And ultimately, when your muscle's strong, you're in surrender, and there's a blurring between steps 1 through 4. You don't even know if your appreciation, your allowing, or if your awareness, your acknowledgement. It just is embodied all of the steps. And you jump between step 1, which is awareness, and then step 2, well, what does it mean? What acknowledgement of what's desired? And then you go back into feeling into the physical sensations and the emotional manifestations and the mental thoughts and the egoic misbeliefs. So you sort of jump between 1 and 2. And then when you tasted them, we'll come back to the tasting. When you taste it and you're like, oh, and then you start to realize, oh, this wasn't personal. This is vibrational. This is growing. This is just humaning. Yeah. And then that allowing sort of merges in with step 3. And most people, Valerie, it's just this unconscious release. Yeah. And you're like, oh, you just released. Sometimes people yawn. Yeah. I have this really crazy that I burp. Oh, yeah. I hate it. But when I feel people moving energy, there'll be these like subtle little quiet burps that just come out, and I can feel the energy moving. So there's different ways that we might unconsciously release energy. I was coaching a young man that's helping me. He's working with me as well. And I was, feel it in your emotional body. We need to muscle your emotional body. And then he said, we were doing it over phone. He goes, I just let out this huge yawn. And I said, wonderful. That's you just releasing that energy. So the energy will be released in different ways. And again, we want this to be not mindy. It's not an intellectual. It's the 4 bodies, and you're embodying and feeling.
Right. So the awareness piece, it could be intellectual. It could be something like an observation, but then it has to become an experience, basically.
Yes.
It has to become an experience. Yeah.
Yes. In my book, Valerie, I talk about how the mind is blamed for being overactive, but the mind is expressing for the physical body. The mind is expressing for the emotional body. The mind is speaking for itself and speaking for the egoic body. So the mind is the intellectual tool, the mental body for us to communicate, for us to feel, for us to get these sensations. Right. And our ability to differentiate, and closing your eyes is very simple. And, right now I invite the listeners to see what are they aware of in their physical body. And I can tell you, I'm so proud. Usually I'll say that my jaw is tense, but it's not today. I could see that I can feel it in my heart. I feel heaviness in my heart. And so then that's the physical sensation. And so then I'll ask myself, well, what is the emotion? And I can feel it's almost repressing my joy. So there's fear repressing my joy. And so then I go to the mental body and say, is there a story and what's it connected with? And it's almost like, oh, this trying to control so that I do well. So it's sort of this desire to show up and to be on target with our conversation. And so the egoic body, then I flip to what's desired, my worthiness. Oh, there we go. I had some tension in my heart that was fear and sadness that met the story where I realized cognitively it had to do with how I'm showing up and sort of judging myself, and I want to be worthy. And then now we're talking and so, oh my God, isn't this crazy? Isn't this amazing that 5 seconds of closing my eyes, my body's able to tell me so much? And isn't it crazy that I'm looking for external validation for my worthiness, even though I'm teaching that we're infinitely, inherently worthy? And then this big, oh, it's so amazing to be human, and we continue to learn and grow. And then I have goosebumps from my awareness.
Yes, as you speak, like my body is also doing something here. The yawning's coming up, trying
Yes.
it wants to yawn. It's almost like this very powerful sense of relaxation. Resting in something that it feels like truth, like everything that you're saying. It feels almost like this bed of truth, like a resting place. It's amazing. Yeah, the body just says, oh, finally, I'm having a conversation that is about me, basically truth saying. And that's we are honoring that. So thank you.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. One of the biggest compliments that I ever had in my coaching was one of my clients. This is funny. One of my clients saying to me, Manal, you sound like a rabbi.
Yeah.
I'm the farthest from a rabbi that we would ever see, but I was like and he shared a rabbi that he follows, that he adores, and he goes, it's because I think what you feel is that I truly trust the mystery. Like I truly have been able to muscle a genuine acceptance of the infinite power, and through that I'm aligned with my infinite inner power. So it's not giving away my power, it's recognizing the divinity that I trust is also within me. So my trust in the infinite power allows me to align with my personal power. And so that clarity of that is what gives the power of a rabbi or whatever it might be. That can't believe I'm sharing this. So yes.
Yeah. It resonates true to me. Yes. I mean, you're just amazing in so many ways. I just love that. I have devotion for this. It's a self-discovery. It's life, honoring life, recognizing life, God seeing God. So it's really, I mean, this is it. It doesn't get better than this. No. I have to tell you, it really doesn't. So I love your work. I love this transmission of what you already know to be true. So you put in this in a very practical way, a very clear and practical way, easy, simple. So this is wonderful because anyone can try it, even out of curiosity. They can just try and see how it feels, and they'll find out for themselves. Which is another thing that I see that you encourage, right? More experience than knowledge. It's not about intellectualizing concepts. It's about experience, knowing that you're dancing the dance of life as life. Just taste it. I mean, this is beautiful. Just taste it. Just dance it with it. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God. So thank you so much, for being the amazing representation of life. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Manal L. Remley and her work, please visit Matane.me.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.